Alice, I can't. We'll catch him, Bella, she assured me. And what if you get hurt, Alice? Do you think that's okay with me? Do you think it's only my human family he can hurt me with? Alice looked meaningfully at Jasper. A deep, heavy fog of lethargy washed over me, and my eyes closed without my permission. My mind struggled against the fog, realizing what was happening. I forced my eyes open and stood up, stepping away from Jasper's hand. I don't want to go back to sleep, I snapped. I walked to my room and shut the door, slammed it really, so I can be free to go to peace privately. This time Alice didn't follow me. For 3.5 hours I stared at the wall, curled in a ball, rocking. My mind went around in circles, trying to come up with some way out of this nightmare. There was no escape, no reprieve. I could see only one possible end looming darkly in my future. The only question was, how many other people will be hurt before I reached it? The only solace, the only hope I had left was knowing that I would see Edward soon. Maybe if I could just see his face again, I would also be able to see the solution that eluded me now. When the phone rang, I returned to the front room a little ashamed of my behavior. I hoped I hadn't offended either of them. They would know how grateful I was for the sacrifices they were making on my account. Alice was talking as rapidly as ever, but what caught my attention was that, for the first time, Jasper was not in the room. I looked at the clock. It was 5:30 in the morning. They're just boarding their plane, Alice told me. They'll land at 9:45. Just a few more hours to keep breathing until he was here. Where's Jasper? He wants to check out. You aren't staying here? No, we're leaking closer to your mother's house. My stomach twisted uneasily at her words. But the phone rang again, distracting me. She looked surprised, but I was already walking forward, reaching hopefully for the phone. Hello? Alice asked. No, she's right here. She held the phone out to me. Your mother, she mouthed. Hello? Bella? Bella? It was my mother's voice, in a familiar tone that I heard 1,000 times in my childhood. Anytime I got in too close to the edge of the sidewalk or strayed out of her sight in a crowded place, it was a sound of panic. I sighed. I've been expecting this, though I tried to make my messages as unalarming as possible without lessening the urgency of it. Calm down, Mom, I said in my most soothing voice, walking slowly away from Alice. I wasn't sure if I could lie as convincingly with her eyes on me. Everything is fine, okay? Just give me a minute and I'll explain everything, I promise. I paused, surprised that she hadn't interrupted me yet. Mom? Be very careful not to say anything until I tell you to. The voice I heard was as unfamiliar as it was unexpected. It was a man's tenor voice, a very pleasant generic voice, the kind of voice you heard in the background of luxury car commercials. He spoke very quickly. Now I don't need to hurt your mother, so please do exactly as I say and she'll be fine. He paused for a minute while I listened in mute horror. That's very good, he congratulated. Now repeat after me and do try to sound natural. Please say, no, Mom, stay where you are. No, Mom, stay where you are. My voice was barely more than a whisper. I could see this is going to be difficult. The voice was amused, still light and friendly. Why don't you walk into another room now so your face doesn't ruin everything? There's no reason for your mother to suffer. As you're walking, please say, Mom, please listen to me. Say it now. Mom, please listen to me, my voice pleaded. I walked very slowly to the bedroom, feeling Alice's worries stare on my back. I shut the door behind me, trying to think clearly through the terror that gripped my brain. There now, are you alone? Just answer yes or no. Yes. But they can still hear you, I'm sure. Yes. All right then, the agreeable voice continued. Say, Mom, trust me. Mom, trust me. This worked out rather better than I expected. I was prepared to wait, but your mother arrived ahead of schedule. It's easier this way, isn't it? Less suspense, less anxiety for you. I waited. Now I want you to listen very carefully. I'm going to need you to get away from your friends. Do you think you can do that? Answer yes or no. No. I'm sorry to hear that. I was hoping you'll be a little bit more creative than that. Do you think you can get away from them if your mother's life depended on it? Answer yes or no. Somehow there had to be a way. I remember that we were going to the airport, Sky Harbor International Airport. Crowded, confusingly laid out. Yes, that's better. I'm sure it won't be easy, but if I get the slightest hint that you have any company, well, that will be very bad for your mother, the friendly voice promised. You must know enough about us to realize how quickly I would know if you tried to bring anyone along with you, and how little time I would need to deal with your mother if that was the case. Do you understand? Answer yes or no. Yes. My voice broke. Very good, Bella. Now this is what you have to do. I want you to go to your mother's house. Next to the phone there will be a number. Call it, and I'll tell you where to go from there. I already knew where I would go, and where this would end, but I would follow his instructions exactly. Can you do that? Answer yes or no. Yes. Before noon, please, Bella. I haven't got all day, he said politely. Where's Phil? I asked tersely. Ah, be careful now, Bella. Wait until I ask you to speak, please. I waited. It's important now that you don't make your friends suspicious when you go back to them. Tell them that your mother called, and that you talked her out of coming home for the time being. Now repeat after me. Thank you, Mom. Say it now. Thank you, Mom. The tears were coming. I tried to fight them back. Say, I love you, Mom. I'll see you soon. Say it now. I love you, Mom. My voice was thick. I'll see you soon, I promised. Goodbye, Bella. I look forward to seeing you again. He hung up. I held the phone to my ear. My joints were frozen with terror. I couldn't unbend my fingers to drop it. I knew I had to think, but my head was filled with the sound of my mother's panic. Seconds ticked by while I fought for control. Slowly, my thoughts started to break past that brick wall of pain. To plan. For I had no choices now but one. To go to the mirrored room and die. I had no guarantees. Nothing to give to keep my mother alive. I could only hope that James would be satisfied with winning the game. That beating Edward would be enough. Despair gripped me. There was no way to bargain. Nothing I could offer that would influence him. But I still had no choice. I had to try. I pushed the terror back as well as I could. My decision was made. It did no good to waste time agonizing over the outcome. I had to think clearly. Because Alice and Jasper were waiting for me, and evading them was absolutely essential and absolutely impossible. I was suddenly grateful that Jasper was gone. If he had been here to feel my anguish in the last 5 minutes, how could I have kept them from being suspicious? I choked back the dread, the anxiety, tried to stifle it. I couldn't afford it now. I didn't know when he would return. I concentrated on my escape. I had to hope that my familiarity with the airport would turn the odds in my favor. Somehow I had to keep Alice away. I knew Alice was in the other room waiting for me, curious, but I had to deal with one more thing in private before Jasper was back. I had to accept that I wouldn't see Edward again. Not even one last glimpse of his face to carry with me into the mirrored room. I was going to hurt him, and I couldn't say goodbye. I let the waves of torture wash over me, have their way for a time, and then I pushed them back too and went to face Alice. The only expression I could manage was a dull, dead look. I saw her alarm and I didn't wait for her to ask. I just had one script, and I never managed improvisation now. My mom was worried. She wanted to come home, but it's okay. I convinced her to stay away. My voice was lifeless. We'll make sure she's fine, Bella. Don't worry. I turned away. I couldn't let her see my face. My eyes fell on a blank page of the hotel stationery on the desk. I went to it slowly. A plant farming. There was an envelope there, too. That was good. Alice, I asked slowly without turning, keeping my voice level. If I write a letter for my mother, would you give it to her? Leave it at the house, I mean? Sure, Bella. Her voice was careful. She could see me coming apart at the seams. I had to keep my emotions under better control. I went into the bedroom again and knelt next to the bedside table to write. Edward, I wrote. My hand was shaking. The letters were hardly legible.